It's entitled Florida Doctors Covered and Confident, Summer Solutions and Smarter Limits. And I will be interviewing Julie Danna with Risk Strategies. Hey, Julie.
Hi.
So to get things going, summer's nearly here, and many Florida physicians are ready to take a break after working a long winter. What should they know about malpractice coverage when bringing in a locum tenens physician?
That's a great question, and it's very common right now and at the end of the year. The locum tenens with the medical protective programs that we insure offer up to 45 days, which all the other carriers pretty much are 30 days. So that's a benefit right there. There's an important process to it, and they have to go through an application process to be able to become a locums on someone's policy. And so it's a perfect question for right now. When a doctor wants to go on a vacation, we try to get them to do it in advance so that we're all set up and a person can come in and take over the doctor's policy so that they have coverage for their acts on the other doctor's behalf.
All right. So that sounds reassuring, but what if something goes wrong while the locum doctors they've hired is covering? And can the physician who's on vacation still be held liable?
That's a very common question. And it's a scary one because the fallacy is that they can be held accountable, but they won't be, because as long as they have that doctor fill out an application before they go on vacation, it's approved by MedPro, then they are covered under their own name and not under the doctor's. The doctor can go off and have a great vacation and not worry about the locums taking over and causing them a drastic lawsuit.
So if I'm hearing you, you need to plan early. You need to identify your locums ahead of time. You need to complete the application for the locums before your departure. Is that correct?
Yes, that is 100% correct. It's always smart to plan ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like we've got the locums issue covered.
Well,
now
I
let's pivot to.
I'd like to add, a lot of people think that they can hire a locum and bring a locum in while they're gone just from their own practice, like for a long weekend or something. They can't be someone in their own practice. It has to be someone outside of their practice. It can't be a nurse practitioner. It has to be someone that has been underwritten, and then they can come in and take over the policy. The other thing that people always ask, well, what do I need this for? Well, let's say you want to go for additional training, or you want to go on a vacation with your family for the month of June. You will have a locums. They can come for up to 45 days, or they can break it up in little pieces throughout the year, which is what a lot of doctors in the Panhandle do.
All right. So I'm going to shift direction here. And the topic of the next shift is choosing the right malpractice limits in today's legal climate, especially in Florida. And I think this is only going to be aired in Florida. Is that correct?
In Florida.
Yeah. All right. So this is specific to Florida. So now we're pivoting to something that all physicians need to consider, whether or not they use a locums doctor, and that is malpractice limits. It is my understanding that the jury awards are becoming massive. For whatever reason, they are increasing at double-digit rates. What's the message for Florida doctors in light of this change?
Okay, one of the problems we have in Florida is that we do not have a cap on non-economic damages. This is a problem because we don't have tort reform at a national level. One of the issues that we keep on seeing is the serial verdict. So like the largest one that's ever been in U.S. history was $412 million verdict. Another one in New Mexico, that was the New Mexico one, was $229 million in Maryland. And then here in Florida, I believe it was in Tampa, it was $216 million. What we used to see as an average settlement was 500,000 across the country, $1 million if you go to court. But now they're enormous and it's a huge problem. So that's why I want to bring up the limits. I always recommend, if you can afford it, to at least go to 500, 1.5, because a lot of Florida doctors only have 250, 750. If they have one of these serial verdicts, their personal assets come into play and they are underinsured. They have 100% legal coverage, but they do not have for the settlement. They'll only have to the policy of their limits. So if you have 250 limits, and you always see 250, 750. So the 250 is all it'll cover for that one claim and no more than 750 per year. So if you have multiple claims that come in, which we're not seeing that common anymore, but we are seeing huge verdicts.
All right. So staggering numbers, truly staggering numbers. And how should physicians adjust or shift their current coverage, especially if they've been in practice for 10 or 20 years?
I think it's really important that they reach out to me or to their current agent, but I insure pretty much everyone that we're going to be talking to. But they should contact me and let me have a conversation with them. I do have multiple groups that have doctors that have 250, 750, and $1.3 million, depending on contracts, comfort levels. So MedPro will do that. It's not common, but I do have practices that do that, especially if there are multiple states. But it is important to really have someone look at your limits, talk you through it, and figure out what your assets are and how much of that you want to give away if you have a severe lawsuit. On the flip side, people worry about, well, if they have too much insurance, they're going to get sued for more. And that's a common question. And it's really important if you're a OBGYN or a surgeon, you might want to have more coverage. If you have tons of patients, more than the average practice, you got to look at how many exposures you're going to have. So it's important to really kind of digest it on a one-to-one basis with me or your agent.
All right. So what is the best way for a physician to start the conversation? Say I'm getting ready to call you. What information do I need to gather in order to have a productive conversation?
Just call me and we'll go through it. It's good to have your certificate of insurance in front of you so you know what your retroactive date is, you know what your limits are, and what your concerns are. And if you already reported a claim, you cannot suddenly come in and change those limits to have a higher limit because it's already reported at your current limit.
All right. So these are the questions we had discussed, but I'm going to shift gears because I'm famous for that.
Yeah.
So in the state of Florida, and this is a mantra of mine, what is the most cost-effective way to bring the cost of medical malpractice down for both the physician and for the patients? Because at the end of the day, we pass med mal costs on to all patients, and 99.9% of them don't deserve to be paying them because they're not doing dramatic litigation. So what would be the legislative change that you think would make the most sense?
Well, tort reform in Florida like we had back in the day. And I was very involved in, and my partner, Matt Gracie, we were both very involved in getting that tort reform passed. And then it was considered non-constitutional for the plaintiff attorneys not to be able to sue. So they lowered it, the cap. And then in 2017, they completely eliminated it. So there is no tort reform in the state of Florida.
And when you say tort reform, from my perspective, really you're talking about non-economic damages. So in an ideal world, we would buy insurance to cover the medical costs of issues that come up, which makes sense. But the non-economic damages, there'd be a cap to that. It wouldn't run amok, which is the place where these settlements really do run amok, because it's really, those are hard numbers to describe. So you're right. Back in the day, being about 16 years ago, it was capped at $250,000, which is a reasonable cap on non-economic damages.
Right.
I think that covers all the questions I have. Is there any information you'd like to put out there that goes beyond anything I've asked at this point?
No, these are two big topics that I get asked every single day. So it's important to talk to me or their current agent to figure out what's best for them. We have a lot of programs in the state of Florida, so we're really familiar with all the different specialties that we insure. So I really think that we're the best place for them to get started and just ask questions. I'm available every day of the week until 8 p.m. for calls and emails, and my information will be on the PowerPoint presentation that we send out.
Oh, wait, I got another idea.
Okay.
In the state of Florida, doctors can go bare.
Right.
Why shouldn't they go bare? Why is that a ridiculous idea?
Because they still get sued. And we have a large group in South Florida that was a group of surgeons, and they went bare and put all their assets offshore and did everything right, and they ended up getting sued, and every single one of them had to file bankruptcy, and now they're with MedPro.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for reaching out.
All right, Julie Danna, caller, please. Thank you.
850-530-3924.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.